We continue our breaking news coverage of the shooting at tonight's rally that wounded former President Donald Trump. The shooter is dead, along with one person attending that rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, that's near Pittsburgh. The Secret Service says two spectators have critical injuries. It's unclear what their condition is currently. The former president was rushed off of the stage after he was grazed in the right ear. When you heard the gunfire, you actually saw him reach up to his head. He was quickly taken in his motorcade to a hospital for evaluation. At our last update, he was still there. Secret Service says that shooter fired from an elevated position outside of the event. A source tells the Associated Press that law enforcement recovered an AR-style rifle at the shooting scene. And just minutes ago, the White House said President Biden will return to Washington, D.C. from his vacation home in Delaware to monitor this investigation. Donald Trump posted a message on his social media platform a short time ago saying he is fine. He thanked the Secret Service and other law enforcement. He also offered condolences to the families of the dead and wounded. He said the bullet pierced the upper part of his right ear, and he knew immediately that something was wrong. He closed out his message by saying, "God bless America." All right, we're joined now by Frank Figliuzzi, the former assistant director for counterintelligence at the FBI, a author and national security expert. Frank, I just kind of want to start off. We're still getting a lot of information in as exactly what happened, but based on what you witnessed, kind of what are your takeaways and kind of how can you help us understand what we all saw unfold on that stage?
Sure, and you're right. It is early, so we need to be cautious about making any conclusions at all. But now it does appear that there was some form of attempt or attempted attack on the former president at the rally in Pennsylvania, and that he suffered some form of relatively minor injury to his ear, likely. Secret Service responded quickly. We do have confirmation at this time from the district attorney in Pennsylvania that the shooter is deceased. We don't yet have clarity on whether that's because the Secret Service returned fire at the shooter, although I note we do hear multiple rounds being fired. Sadly, we also hear that a spectator is deceased and yet another spectator critical condition. So the challenges of securing our nation, our candidates in this divided, polarized time is clearly becoming more significant, perhaps more so than ever. And here we are on the eve of the Republican National Convention beginning on Monday in Milwaukee, already with extremely high security. But this event is sure to raise the security challenge even higher. And don't be surprised if you see changes to the plan for Milwaukee with regard to the protest areas that are designated and the parade routes and free speech areas that are designated.
You know, when we saw this happen and after we see former President Trump basically with the Secret Service agents on top of him, you kind of hear them methodically over the open microphone saying, you know, shooters down, tracking through the process. Obviously, there's going to be questions about what happened leading up to this that allowed a gunman to be within range. But in terms of what we saw from the Secret Service response, it appears they were able to get the shooter down rather quickly.
It does certainly seem that way from the rapid fire that we hear, this rapid succession of shots. But I have to tell you, the attitude in federal law enforcement for something like this is if it's gotten to the point where you're shooting back at the threat and your protectee has been hit, that is a very bad day. In fact, that is a failed day. So we're, you know, when everybody comes up for air, we're undoubtedly going to begin trying to deconstruct what went wrong in terms of security here. It is very difficult to secure an open air rally because you have to challenge yourself to find the high point, a higher point to observe a threat and a shooter than the bad guy has. And if the bad guy has beat you at that, and you've gotten him or her close enough, even with magnetometers, which are routine at these rallies, anywhere a candidate or a president is, you're going through a magnetometer. So how did this happen? We'll be dealing with that question in the days to come.
Walk me through what law enforcement is going to be doing right now at this point in time. I know this is going to be multi-agencies. Obviously, they're already on this, but what are they going to be doing in terms of trying to understand the shooter and try to understand, was this person, I would assume, acting alone? That would be a prime question, I would imagine. And what other information are they going to be trying to find out in these initial hours?
Yeah, there's a lot of investigative work to be done here, and the FBI will step up now and partner with the Secret Service and join this investigation in a very significant way. Per U.S. law, the FBI is the investigative agency here now after an event like this with the Secret Service. They are already on the scene, and that means with the deceased shooter, you're going to now investigate who he or she was, and that means fingerprinting them immediately, taking DNA immediately from that body, and trying to figure out who this was and what the motive was. And the possibility of a co-conspirator, an accomplice, cannot be ruled out. The FBI and Secret Service will go to this person's residence, will go through with a search warrant, go through all of their social media postings, their entire computer drive, all of that. There'll be interview upon interview, not only of witnesses, but of family members, friends, co-workers. If he's got a storage facility, a vehicle, all of that is going to need to be searched and combed through to ensure two things. One, the threat is over. There isn't anyone else out there working with him. And two, to ensure that they understand whether there's a group or a conspiracy here that will concern us into the future.
And finally, Frank, I wanted to ask you, we know how polarized everyone is right now. We're months out from an election. How important is it going to be for law enforcement to be transparent with everything it learns throughout the course of this investigation, to shine a light on what the actual facts are, so that conspiracies and other bits of misinformation don't, threaten to kind of overtake our political discourse?
This is a challenging question these days, because you're right. We need as much information as possible that law enforcement can give us to try and suppress the development of inaccurate conspiracy theories. But at the same time, law enforcement needs its time and space to conduct what will be a very sensitive investigation. So I would expect press conferences to begin as early as tonight. That will be general in nature. When they have a confirmed identity, I would expect the identity of the shooter to be released. But then with regard to the details, what's going on with his cyber material, his social media, all of that, I think that's going to take longer to get out, and that's because it's going to be obtained through search warrant. It's going to have to be really studied before conclusions can be made.
All right. Frank Figliuzzi, thanks so much for joining us and offering us your expertise.